Hi, welcome back to Anime Insights. Today, I will recap the anime titled One Piece Film Red. Everyone was excited because a big show was about to take place in Elygia. Luffy decided to attend. At the same time, Yuta had set her mind on creating a peaceful world. She wanted to end the chaos brought by pirates who plundered and harmed others, making people despise pirates even more. She dreamed of ushering in a new era of happiness for all. Luffy's crew prepared for a party to celebrate and listened to Yuta's famous voice. When Yuta finally took the stage, her music shook things up and the crowd went wild. People danced and cheered for her, deeply moved by her performance. As the performance ended, the crowd cheered enthusiastically for Yuta's beautiful voice. However, a group of pirates was plotting to kidnap her. Just then, Luffy jumped onto the stage, reaching Yuta's side. "Long time no see, Yuta," he said. Yuta, overjoyed, ran to hug him. The audience was stunned, unsure how Luffy knew such a famous singer. They recognized him as the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates and wondered how he knew Yuta, especially since she was Shanks' daughter. The pirates trying to kidnap Yuta thought they could use her to threaten Shanks. But before they could act, they were attacked by Oven, Big Mom's son. Broly and Oven also wanted to capture Yuta, but since she was Luffy's friend, the Straw Hat crew wouldn't stay out of it, while Luffy and Robin took care of the other pirates. Yuta then spoke, asking the pirates to stop the fighting and have some cake, telling them not to be pirates anymore. She explained that her previous band had been a pirate crew, but that listening to her voice turned everyone into musicians. The pirates laughed at the idea, not believing that Yuta could make them stop being pirates. But when Yuta sang again, something unexpected happened. Her voice somehow trapped the pirates in armor, preventing them from attacking. She even captured Oven and imprisoned him in her song. Yuta's performance inspired the crowd, and people began to support her vision of a peaceful world, regardless of her being Shanks' daughter. Yuta then made a shocking announcement. While her shows usually ended early, today's performance would continue forever, with people hearing her voice for all time. She warned the Marines and world government not to interrupt her performance, or they would face consequences, as she was determined to create a new world where everyone would be happy. Meanwhile, the five elders watched the live broadcast and realized that Yuta was a dangerous person. Despite her red-haired lineage, which resembled Shanks, they feared that Yuta possessed the power to awaken an ancient weapon called Tap Musica, which had been sealed for centuries. The world government quickly responded to the situation, contacting Akainu and ordering more than 30 warships, along with Vice Admirals Kazuru and Fujitora, to go to Elygia and capture Yuta. Meanwhile, Yuta continued using her powers to spread joy and happiness to everyone. Big Mom, one of the Yonko, recognized the incredible strength of Yuta's devil fruit powers and became determined to capture her. Her son Katakuri decided to join the battle. Sanji, however, was more focused on the food available on the island, amused by how everything he wanted was in abundance. Yuta confided in Luffy, wondering why Shanks had given him the Straw Hat, a hat she had once begged for but never received. To settle this, Yuta proposed a challenge. They would compete to see who could win the most battles while they were young. Yuta created an arena for them to compete, starting with a contest to see who could eat fried chicken the fastest. Whoever ate the slowest would be sucked into the water by a cow. Luffy nearly finished his plate, but Yuta still had 3 pieces left. Just as Luffy finished, he was sucked into the water. Yuta immediately pulled him out, and though he was upset, Luffy accused her of cheating. Yuta kept asking about Shanks, but Luffy didn't know the answer. Everyone wanted to know how Luffy and Yuta knew each other. They both explained that they had met at Windmill Village 12 years ago. Back then, they would often fight over the same chicken drumsticks. Yuta once tricked Luffy by offering him a glass of water, which let her win. Even though he was furious, Luffy still refused to admit defeat against her. As they argued about who was the real pirate, Shanks suddenly intervened, stopping the fight. Luffy was curious why Yuta called Shanks her father, to which Yuta explained that she was adopted by him, but loved him deeply. She then sang and everyone felt warmth and peace. But unexpectedly, when Yuta sang, everyone fell asleep. Luffy asked why Yuta had disappeared, but Shanks only said she left the crew to become a singer, refusing to give further details. Yuta had become a famous singer in just 2 years, with fans all over the world, but when she learned Luffy's dream of becoming Pirate King, she told him to give up that dream and live a happy life with her on the island. Luffy, however, was determined to follow his dream and leave the island. But Yuta, seeing his resolve, changed her attitude and attacked Nami and Sanji, trapping them in her song. Realizing Yuta's true intentions to deal with all pirates, Zoro and the others began fighting back. Yuta turned the musical notes into attacking soldiers, and even if they defeated them, they kept reappearing. Yuta urged Luffy to give up being a pirate, but Luffy, focused on his dream, didn't want to fight her. Yuta continued using her devil fruit powers, creating more minions to attack the group. Music had become her weapon, and she used it to trap Luffy and the others. No matter how hard they struggled, they couldn't escape. The townspeople, who had suffered from pirates, began to despise them even more. As Luffy finally broke free, he was hit with seawater, losing all his strength. Surrounded by the townspeople, suddenly Bartolomeo appeared, rescuing Luffy because he was a huge fan. To Luffy's surprise, they were suddenly teleported, and it turned out Law was there as well. At first, Bartolomeo thought Law was a fan of Yuta, but it turned out he was just following Beppo for fun. Law, curious about Yuta's abilities, joined Luffy's group, but Yuta quickly found them and summoned an entire army of music soldiers to pursue them. Meanwhile, Kobe was blending in with the crowd, observing the situation. Bluno from CP9 had also arrived, working alongside the Cypher Pole team. As Luffy and Law's group tried to evade the army, Zoro's group remained captured, still trapped by Yuta's music soldiers. Suddenly, an old man appeared and led Luffy's group to a hidden place. He introduced himself as Gordon, the former king of the country of Elegia. Bartolomeo wondered how this deserted island could have once been a country, and Law explained that it was once a prosperous musical nation that vanished overnight. Gordon then shared that he had raised Yuta on this island. Though Yuta had lived a lonely life, she often wrote songs and sang, bringing joy to those who heard her. She knew little about the outside world until she discovered messenger snails, which allowed her to share her music and spread happiness. However, when Yuta learned about the brutal world of pirates, she decided to create a new world as a savior. Gordon begged Luffy to stop Yuta's plan, but before they could discuss further, Yuta found them and used her powers to turn Beppo into a cub. Luffy, puzzled, asked why Yuta had left Shanks' crew, which made her angry. In retaliation, she took Luffy's straw hat. As the situation grew more tense, Law quickly teleported the group away. Bartolomeo recklessly led Luffy down a steep drop, but luckily, the soldiers didn't spot them. Meanwhile, Yuta captured Gordon, worried that her presence might attract the Navy. She revealed a mysterious song called Top Musica, which she had discovered hidden deep under Gordon's castle. When Luffy and his crew arrived at the harbor, they realized something was wrong. The Sunny was missing. To their shock, Yuta had turned the ship into a playful lion cub. Elsewhere, the Marines landed on the island, only to find it eerily empty. Assuming everyone had perished, they let their guard down. Yuta then appeared, explaining that the people weren't dead but merely asleep. Her devil fruit had a terrifying ability. Her singing pulled people's minds into a dreamlike world. If anyone harmed her, those trapped would be stuck forever. Admiral Fujitora quickly recognized how dangerous she was. To make things worse, Yuta had consumed a rare mushroom that kept her awake while putting others to sleep. But the mushroom was lethal, and her death would doom everyone still inside her dream. The Marines tried to intervene, but Yuta's voice overwhelmed them. Her song allowed her to control the unconscious soldiers, forcing them to fight each other. She even manipulated Law's body to attack Fujitora, leaving the Navy powerless. While chaos unfolded, Luffy's crew struggled to resist Yuta's powers. Robin noticed something hidden within her music and came up with an idea. She asked Brook to counter it with his own song. As Brook's tune began to work, two unexpected allies, Kapi and Bluno, showed up. They confirmed Robin's hunch. Music could disrupt Yuta's control. With Brook's help, Yuta's grip on the dream world weakened. Kapi revealed something shocking. Everything happening was an illusion. Yuta's song had created a dream world, and everyone's real bodies were still unconscious back on the island. This revelation helped Luffy understand why people collapsed whenever Yuta sang. To break free, they needed to find a way to put Yuta to sleep without harming her. However, Yuta kept eating more of the dangerous mushrooms to maintain her strength. If she pushed herself too far, she'd die, trapping everyone forever. While searching for a solution, Luffy's crew stumbled upon a hidden library. Zoro and Sanji began arguing, but their bickering was interrupted by an attack. 3 animated statues appeared, forcing the group into a fight. Zoro and Sanji worked together to fend off the statues, giving Robin time to dig deeper into Yuta's secrets. At the same time, Yuta used Den Den Mushi to spread her songs far beyond the island, pulling more people into her dream. The world government soon realized the severity of the situation. Yuta's powers were draining her life force, and she had less than an hour to live. If she died, nearly 70% of the world's population would be trapped in her dream forever. As tensions rose, a celestial dragon arrived, arrogantly declaring his intent to buy Yuta for an absurd amount of money. Oblivious to the fact that he was already inside her dream, he ordered his men to shoot her. However, the bullets couldn't touch her. In his frustration, he turned on his own guards, firing at them in rage. Yuta, furious at the Marines for serving such corrupt leaders, struck back mercilessly. She captured the soldiers and dealt a brutal blow to the celestial dragon, silencing him completely. This bold act made her seem like a hero to the people watching. But just as the crowd began cheering for her, Kapi stepped in, urging her to stop. It was then that Kapi revealed the truth to the people. The paradise Yuta had promised them was an illusion. Everything they had experienced was part of the dream world she had created. Initially overjoyed by her promise of happiness, the people now grew restless and demanded to leave. Feeling betrayed, Yuta began to lose control of the dream world entirely. The sea began to rise, and Yuta used her powers to turn everyone into toys. Meanwhile, the 5 Elder Stars decided they had to get rid of Yuta. Just as things seemed dire, Kapi showed up and freed Oven. But instead of joining forces with Luffy, Oven chose to confront Yuta on his own. Robin continued her efforts to uncover the truth about Top Musica. Meanwhile, the group was still fighting the stone statues. They were easily destroyed, though in their haste, they accidentally destroyed Gordon's castle. Eventually, everyone regrouped, realizing that it was Brûlé who had brought them into this world. Robin then shared her discovery. The way to escape this dream world was through Yuta's song, Top Musica. This song, which contained the combined emotions of humanity, was tied to the Demon King. If Yuta used it, the Demon King would appear in both the dream world and the real world. To escape, they would need to defeat it in both places. At that moment, Gordon arrived with important news. Shanks was likely to stop Yuta in the real world. Luffy, still curious about the relationship between Yuta and Shanks, decided to find Yuta and get answers directly. Meanwhile, Yuta was indulging in her powers, transforming people into toys. When Luffy approached her, she assumed he had come to challenge her and ordered her soldiers to attack. But their efforts were useless against Luffy. Luffy then tried to talk to Yuta, asking her to stop, but she wondered why he was so determined to become the Pirate King and change the world. In her frustration, Yuta captured Luffy, planning to execute him just like Roger. In a fit of rage, she tore off his straw hat, pushing Luffy over the edge. Yuta finally opened up to Luffy, sharing her past. She explained that she had always considered everyone her family, but Shanks had suddenly abandoned her and stayed in Elegia. Shanks had brought her to the island with the promise of making her a singer, and Gordon had recognized her talent, calling her a world treasure. However, Shanks believed that her voice should bring joy to others, so he decided she should stay on the island, though Yuta wanted to sail with him on his ship. One fateful night, Elegia was destroyed and many lives were lost. When Yuta woke up, Gordon told her that Shanks had taken all the treasure and left, blaming the red-haired pirates for the tragedy. Yuta refused to believe this and set off to find Shanks. After the disaster, Shanks had a bounty of 1,040,000,000 berries. Despite hearing Yuta's side of the story, Luffy still wasn't convinced. Furious, Yuta threatened to kill him, but before she could, Shanks himself appeared and stopped her. It had been a long time since Shanks had heard her sing. Yuta, surprised by his arrival, still held a grudge for being abandoned. She labeled pirates as criminals and urged everyone to stand up in the afterlife. As Kapi and the others attacked Yuta, she prepared to sing again. However, Beppo and the Sunny intervened, and Law quickly trapped Yuta in Bartolomeo's barrier to prevent her song from spreading. In the real world, Yuta used her powers to control people, forcing them to attack Shanks. Unable to defend himself against normal people, Shanks was powerless. Then, the Marines launched an attack, causing Yuta intense pain. Shanks realized that the attackers were led by a Kainu, and Admiral Kizaru soon arrived as well. Just as Kizaru prepared to strike, Shanks stopped him, forcing him to back off. Admiral Fujitora was also prepared to stop Shanks, but back in Yuta's dream world, she began losing control. Her newly transformed soldiers were also affected, and the world was falling apart. Yuta tried to summon the Demon King, but Shanks quickly intervened, only to be pushed back by the Demon King's power. In the real world, the Demon King emerged and people rushed to fight it. However, the 5 Elder Stars were now worried, realizing there was no way to stop the Demon King. Luffy decided to act. He used Gear 3 to land a powerful blow on the Demon King, but Yuta was still determined to finish her song. Despite the combined efforts of everyone, the Demon King stood unharmed. Law realized that attacking the Demon King alone was pointless. Luffy jumped onto the Demon King to confront Yuta. However, Yuta refused to listen and threw a spear at him. Just as Luffy was in danger, Gordon jumped in to protect him, refusing to let Yuta harm his friend. Gordon then revealed the truth. 12 years ago, it wasn't the red-haired pirates who destroyed Elegia. It was Top Musica. That night, Yuta had unknowingly activated Top Musica when she tried to leave with Shanks. The people of Elegia had asked her to sing one final time, and during that performance, her voice triggered the Demon King's appearance, causing the island's destruction. Shanks' crew had to come together to stop the powerful Demon King and save Yuta, who, despite her actions, was still just a young girl caught in a terrible misunderstanding. Shanks told Gordon to tell Yuta that they were responsible for destroying Elegia, hoping this would help her fulfill her dream of becoming a world-renowned singer. This was a reason Shanks and his crew had to leave, even though it broke their hearts to leave Yuta behind. When Luffy learned the truth, he was relieved, but Yuta attacked him, her anger still boiling. Luffy noticed the drawing she kept of him as a child, and in that moment, he understood how much she had cared for him. Luffy begged her to stop and reminded her that her vision for the world was wrong. Yuta had lost all control. She was fully under the Demon King's influence. The Demon King was now awake and ready to destroy everything. Shanks soon realized that Yuta had merged with the Demon King. Tap Musica. Inside Yuta's dream world, memories flooded back to her. A year ago, she had learned the truth. She had destroyed Elegia by summoning the Demon King. Yet, she still believed that through her singing, she could bring about a better world. Despite the group's efforts, they couldn't stop the Demon King, and their attacks had no effect. Luffy, not willing to give up, activated Gear 4 and took on the Demon King with full force. Meanwhile, outside the dream, Shanks struggled to keep the Demon King contained. Just as he was about to be overwhelmed, Katakuri arrived to help, advising Shanks to use observation haki so he could sense what was happening inside Yuta's world. The Marines returned, hoping to save the people, and Luffy's group fought their way through the Demon King's defenses. Shanks realized that Luffy was battling the Demon King from within the dream. Luffy's team and Shanks' crew joined forces. Usopp coordinated their attacks, making sure they worked together inside and outside Yuta's world. Luffy and Shanks attacked at the same time, Luffy using Snake Man to punch the Demon King while Shanks attacked from the outside. During the fight, Shanks recalled the day they found Yuta during a treasure hunt, a moment that reminded him of how Roger had found him years ago. That memory led Shanks to decide to adopt Yuta. In the final moments, Luffy accidentally unlocked Gear 5, and together with Shanks, they were able to bring down the Demon King. Yuta was freed from the dream, but she was exhausted and weak. Despite this, the people who had been controlled by the Demon King remained trapped. It turned out that their consciousness had been consumed by Tap Musica. Yuta, realizing that she had to sing to bring everyone back to reality, gathered the strength to do so, even though she was drained. Shanks reluctantly allowed her to sing, seeing how weak she was. Her song calmed the people, and those inside the dream world heard it too, bringing everyone back to the real world. Once back, Luffy had a moment with Yuta, but she continued to tease him. She noticed how much taller Luffy had grown, which made him sad. They knew they wouldn't see each other again, but Luffy kept talking to her. Outside, the Marines, still wanting to capture Yuta, aimed their guns at her. Shanks' crew was ready to fight, and Shanks boldly declared, "Yuta is my daughter." Anyone who tries to take her will have to face me. He unleashed his conqueror's haki, so powerful that even the vice admiral couldn't bear it. The Marines, realizing they had no chance, withdrew. Yuta, now weak and fragile, was surrounded by Shanks and his crew, who remained by her side. Eventually, they took Yuta away. Luffy and the others regained their composure, but Luffy couldn't help wondering where Shanks had gone. He soon realized that Shanks and Yuta had disappeared, leaving him to reflect on all that had happened. Well, that wraps up this video. Be sure to subscribe and like for more videos. See you all in the next one.